I was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia in March of last year, and I've done several rounds of chemotherapy hoping that it would cure it, but unfortunately it did not. So my doctor recommended a bone marrow transplant, and thankfully I was able to find a half match in the Philippines. And it's my cousin, Noel Talania, and he applied for a visa in December of last year, and his visa was denied December 18th. We appealed January 10th, and that was denied again. And as of January 26th, it finally got approved.
Right. So when you got the message that he got the visa, what was your reaction?
Thank you, but why did we have to go through this stress?
You were like, that was stress that I didn't have to go through, right? In addition to what you're going through.
Yes.
So I'm going to talk to you first about the first denial, because since then your story has gone viral, and you are in a way lucky in that it's gone viral, because I'm sure you're not the only one in this unique position. There may be others out there, but their story is not even being told. What do you think led to that story going viral?
There are a number of reasons. One, how unfair it was, how unfair someone my age to get this type of cancer that typically affects older people, how unfair it was for me to find a match in the Philippines and to have his visa denied, even though our intentions were pure. The fact that this was just such an unfair hand dealt towards me resonated with a lot of people.
It has also been a roller coaster for you, getting diagnosed. But before that, it was such a high when you had your son, first-time dad, and then getting diagnosed, and then finding the match, which is not easy. Let's talk about finding that match.
Exactly. I think I try to stay positive about all experiences. And if there's one thing that the cancer has given me, it's a humility that you cannot buy. I was a young, vigorous, otherwise healthy male who just had a son. Everything in my life was perfect, literally perfect. I was living a dream world. And then I think the humility that being diagnosed with a deadly cancer, it just gave me so much perspective that, you know, I just couldn't get academically. Just having that experience just really gave me that humility that I would never have otherwise.
Right. So you're going through high, you're 41 years old, you're a marathoner, like you're a runner. You, up until you got diagnosed, you were probably thinking you were a healthy person. And then you get diagnosed, which knocked you off your feet. It's a disease that typically affects older people. And then you found a match, which is another high because there's hope, and then but that match has been denied a visa to enable him to come to the States. So it's just the up and down.
Yes, yes. So when we applied for the visa, I knew that it wouldn't be straightforward. For example, if Noel wanted to come here for a vacation, I would never expect that to happen. So we went in knowing that. So we were very particular to make sure that when we put together the application, we wanted to give more than they were asking. So we had a letter from my Cedars-Sinai doctor talking about how this is a deadly disease and how he is a unique match. And then we also had my 2022 tax statements showing that as his sponsor, I can make sure that we can provide for him while he's traveling here, staying here, and sending him back. And then also we made sure that he hit on every point about his ties to country, such as his job of 4 years at the hospital and his 4 children and his partner.
Yes, yes.
And it got denied. So that was the first shock.
Is it safe to say that that first time you weren't expecting it? You knew it was complicated, but you were sure? How sure were you that you were going to get the visa, or he was going to get the visa?
Yeah, you know, I don't know if sure is the right word, maybe more naive and ignorant. I just was, you know, as an American citizen, I thought it should be easy for something like this to happen because I'm an American citizen and I'm dying and I need this. And we can prove it.
Right, yes, true. You can support him and all that stuff. Okay, so it was a shock when it
was a
first
shock.
happened. you're a media strategist, so you know the media, you know how to play, you know how to pitch. What was your first direction?
You're right, all of those things are true, but my mind didn't go there immediately. My mind immediately went to despair. And I think I had maybe like 15, 30 minutes of despair. And then I just did the first thing I thought anyone would do, and that's Google organ donor visa denial. And then I found many articles about other families this had happened to. And I just reached out to people, just finding them on Facebook. And I asked them what they did. And they were the ones that told me that I needed my state government support to do congressional inquiries. And in order to help expedite and gain traction, I would need media coverage. So then as soon as I started understanding that, that's where the background came in and helped at least give me a plan to move forward.
Right. Was it difficult selling your story to the media?
I had never done that before. So my marketing background is more on the business side, you know, budgets and strategy. So I've never been responsible for actually pitching my story to the press. So I think getting the first story helped a lot. But I tried cold calling newsrooms and I reached out to 10, 20 different newsrooms and I didn't get any. And it wasn't until that first story broke where it gained traction.
So going into the appeal to apply for a visa a second time, what were your emotions? What was going through your mind? This time you were more prepared.
Exactly. I was prepared because of the families I had talked to after Googling organ donor visa denial. I knew what I needed was a congressional inquiry. Otherwise, I would never know what specific thing to ask for. So because I knew that the congressional inquiries had helped the other families, I knew to ask my friends and family, please help me get this congressional inquiry. So obviously I had messaged Congressman Adam Schiff and Senator Alex Padilla, and I just wanted to make sure that we had more support from other people so that their offices knew that it was more important than just me. So by the time the second interview rolled around on January 10th, we had the inquiry, and I was so confident because the inquiries are what helped the other families.
Right.
So I was shocked when he was denied again.
And that's when the LA Times story broke out. Right. Tell me about that. Did they find you or did you reach out to them?
They found me. They were one of the original newsrooms I had cold called via their tip line. But I don't think that's why they contacted me. I think another friend had passed my information along, and that's what got their attention.
Right. And it's even more like more stories, more social media stuff got posted about you. And that's how we found your story as well, leading up to the third try. What happened? The third try obviously was a success. What did you change from the first to the second? It was clear. Now you had congressional inquiry, you had state support. Leading into the third try.
So we provided even more information. So, I talked about how we were so prepared for the first and second interviews. We were 1,000 times more prepared for the third attempt. And this time we had the help of an immigration attorney. So we gathered even more information, even more lengthy letters from my doctors, myself, my wife, the senators, the congressmen. But I think also because we also had an attorney involved, I think it laid the case for a potential lawsuit in case they messed up again. It's one thing to ignore something because it's maybe one case out of many, but once you have an immigration attorney involved, they know that they have to be more careful about what types of things they ignore because it could be potentially laying the groundwork for a lawsuit.
Right. And so how confident were you this time around?
Not very. Yeah, we were so confident for the second one because we thought we had everything. But even though we had so much more for the third appeal, I was scared.
Right.
I was 50-50, I never would have expected this to be the hardest part of cancer. And to be honest, it has been so far. I did a very aggressive chemo in July. And I was so tired that I couldn't answer the phone when my dad's doctor called me saying that he was on his deathbed. And as hard as that was, it's natural. That's how life goes. My father was older and I would have loved to be there for him, but I couldn't. This is not natural. This is something that happened because of subjective choices made by a consul officer. So I'm just glad to have this behind me so that I can focus on what truly will be what's supposed to be the hardest part, which is transplant. So having all the support now is giving me the fuel to face the hardest part head on.
Right. What would be your advice to others out there in terms of taking care of our health?
If I could encourage anyone to keep moving, that's probably my first bit of advice. You know, make sure you keep up with your milestone checkups. Thankfully, because I was so attuned in my body, I was able to catch it. But I think a lot of people might not be so fortunate to do the same.
What were the symptoms, and just telling people as well to like what to look out for? What did you notice?
So you mentioned marathoner. I had run the LA Marathon in 2022. So I had a pretty good resting heart rate.
Right.
And I just noticed every month my heart rate was jumping 10 points. It went from 70 to 80 to 90 to 100.
Right.
And then it got to the point where even walking 10 feet, I'd be out of breath. So that was a huge red flag for me. And then the second red flag was no matter how much sleep I got, I would feel nappish at 3 p.m. I was just too fatigued, even at like 3 p.m., 2 p.m. after 10 hours of sleep at night.
And then, so going to the doctor, getting the diagnosis, did you explore other options, like a second opinion and all that?
100%. I had to advocate for myself. So I started noticing symptoms in January.
Okay.
And I immediately scheduled an appointment with my doctor. But, for a young, healthy guy, they said, okay, we'll see you in first available in 10 months. And then I said, that doesn't work. We need something sooner. They said 6 months. So then as the symptoms became more severe, I started messaging more frequently. And they said, okay, we'll get you in 3 months. We'll get you in 2 months. And then finally, I think in March, it got to the point where the doctor said, there's nothing else we can do for you, but your symptoms sound serious. Go to urgent care right now. And that's when I went to urgent care. They did a blood test via a prick. And then that's when it showed that I had basically no blood left.
Oh, wow. Well, it's a good thing. So see, advocating for yourself, right?
100%.
And 100%. So that's a lesson to be learned here too. And also the Be the Match organization.
NMDP, they've just changed their name from Be the Match. They were incredibly helpful. I don't know where I'd be without them. So I've actually been a part of the registry since 2004. And I actually matched with someone in 2012 when I was still healthy.
Right.
So I understood the need for the bone marrow registry, especially for non-Caucasians. But to see it in action on the other side, it's amazing.
You're the one needing it, right?
From my perspective now as the recipient, they were very helpful in looking for donors here in the United States. And even though we weren't able to find a suitable match for me here, they were the ones that funded the testing for my relatives in the Philippines.
Right. And that's why we also underscore the importance of registering, right? It's a national registry.
Please go to nmdp.org and sign up to register. They will take anyone that is under 40 years old. And it's a simple, sweet cheek swab. So it's way less invasive than even a COVID test. And especially if you're non-Caucasian, you might save a life, because if you're Black, you're 28% likely to find a match. If you're Asian, you're only 47% likely. And if you're Latino, you're 48% likely. And this is contrasted to Caucasians, who are 71% likely to find a match. So we're 100% underrepresented in terms of the registry. And before, I used to think, well, I know it's important, but now I understand that with all the visa problems, if you need a match from another country, like from Philippines or China or India or one of the African countries or Mexico, you might run into the same visa problems as me.
What would you advise those who are maybe finding themselves in the same situation, but don't have the access or don't know how to access media as you did, and all the other support that you've gotten from the community?
Now that my name is out there, I hope that if they come across the same thing, they'll find me the same way I found others who this happened to, and hopefully I'll be able to steer them in the right direction. I hope by the time this happens again, we'll have some sort of medical visa process in place. It's 2024, it's a voting year, so make sure that the people you vote for are the types of people that will advocate on your behalf and lobby on your behalf if something like this happens to you.
Years from now, when you've recovered, right? When you're healthy and you're looking back at this point in your life, what would you tell your son?
Oh my gosh, I'm already imagining him rolling his eyes because I'm telling him this story so much. I just want him to know how much we love him and how one of the main factors for us pushing to get this done quickly is because we wanted to do this before he could remember, so that he can only remember a normal dad.